Hi there, Indigo here. So, welcome to the 8th Miraculous Story. I can't even believe it that we're actually at 8 weeks already. I'm really enjoying doing these. I'm going to do them for at least a couple more weeks, and then I might take a little bit of a break during that holiday period from what is it, Veterans Day, then it's Thanksgiving, then it's Christmas, then it's New Year's, like boom, 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 boom. So I might take a little break in there while everyone I know is just like so busy with so many things. But I think for the next, definitely for the next week, after this week, and then I think also for the week after that is still before that Veterans Day holiday week. So I hope you're enjoying these stories. I hope you're finding them both instructional and inspirational. And that's the whole idea behind this entire series. It's not just like, oh, all about Indigo's life. It's more like, how can we learn from each other's experiences? Because I've learned everything I'm sharing with you are things that I've personally learned from these experiences. And having had these teachings that have been unfolding in my life is such a deep understanding, and it allows me to apply it to new things that I'm doing. And so I want you to also be able to apply what I've learned to your experiences and to what you're trying to accomplish in your life. So I hope that you're finding this series helps you to do that. So today's story, this is a fun one. It just goes to show how that interplay between when we ask spirit for something and when we allow something in from spirit, when we ask it for it versus when we ask it to tell us, how that is so very, very different. So the situation at play was buying a house, but this could be any situation. So whether you're wanting to buy a house, already bought a house, not even thinking about buying a house, that's not as important. Although if you are thinking about buying a house, this will be particularly useful. But in general, I think what this story highlights is how different results are depending on whether we tell spirit what we want versus just like asking it, okay, show me what I want. Okay. So we can manifest either way. So I'm going to contrast that for you. So some years ago, I guess I've been in this house now 5 years. So I guess about 7 years ago, I started the house hunt. And I really, really wanted to buy a house. And I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is a very, very expensive place to live, particularly for housing. And, I'm a single person buying, so I don't have two incomes. I have only one income buying. Hey, Sabrista, good to see you. Thanks for joining me live. And so it just made it that much more challenging that I was going to be able to find a place that I liked that I could also afford, right? So I was searching, went through 3 realtors over several years. And so finally, at one point, I think it was about a year and a half in, and I decided to draw what I want. So I decided to make a vision board. Like, my way of making a vision board is I just draw it and write words on it because I'm not a crafty person. So I don't want to have to go cut stuff out of magazines and put glitter on or whatever. I just drew my little 3rd grader looking pictures and wrote words on it for anything I didn't know how to draw. I just would write what I wanted. And so it just on a regular, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and then I just set it aside. Oh, hi, Arvia. Good to see you. I'm so glad you're here live. So after I drew it all out and wrote it all up, I just set it aside. And I really forgot about it. It just wound up in all my different, papers. And then about a year later, I finally had a house in contract. And it was a nice house. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, newly renovated backyard. It was in a very desirable working class neighborhood, nice sunlight. It was like a very decent, nice house, right? There was nothing that you could complain about because it had been newly renovated. So there was nothing that was broken. It was all really solid. And I had it was incredibly affordable. I think my mortgage was going to be something like $1,100 a month, which again, in the Bay Area, like right now, anyone who lives in the Bay Area is like saying, okay, so let me get this straight. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath that's in really great condition in a good neighborhood with good light. And your mortgage is $1,100. People cannot get studios for $1,100 here in the Bay Area right now. Okay. So just to orient you. So it was a really, really, really good deal. And my down payment, I think my down payment was something like $8,000. At that time, I was making, well, actually, I wasn't yet making $8,000 per week. I was soon to be making about $8,000 per week. But even then, I was making easily $8,000 per month. So the down payment was, there was no issue around it. And so it just seemed also perfect. And my realtor thought so too. And then it came time to move. So I gave notice on the cottage I was renting out from wonderful people. We had a great relationship. I really loved living in their cottage behind their house. And so I gave them notice that I'd found my own house, and that was the only reason I was moving out, because I would never go to another rental. I would just stay there. And then it was time to start packing. So, when you're packing to move, you go through all your papers, right? Because you're going to say, this one's going in the recycling. This one's coming with me, right? So I'm sorting through every single piece of paper, trying to recycle as much as I can so I'll have the least to move. And guess what I find? I find my little vision board that I completely forgot that I ever even made that paper. I literally drew it up, wrote it up, put it aside, and never thought about it again. Okay. On this paper is the exact house that I have in contract. The notary is supposed to be meeting me within a day or two to have me sign the final thing, and then I'll have the keys, the money will move, and I'll have the keys, and that's it, right? Like, I'm right at that final line. And this is the house. It is in the exact neighborhood that I had written on there. It is even on one of the 2 exact blocks that I had written on there, facing in the direction I said I wanted to face. Check this. So I'm not a good drawer, artist, right? So it really looked like what a 3rd grader would do. Like, if you said to a 3rd grader, draw a house, that's what it was. It was like, here's the garage, it's attached, and here's the main part of the house, and here's a little chimney, and then here's like the picture windows, like the big window with the 2 little on the side, then here's the doorway, and here's another window beside in another room there, and then here's the driveway here, and here's the yard, right? That's like how I had drawn it, because that was like house in my head, right? That's exactly what that house looked like. Not only that, but I had written dual pane windows, but I only wrote it over one window. In my mind, I meant I want the whole house, and I was just writing it once for the idea. But in that house, there was only one set of dual pane windows, and it was the exact set that I had written the words over. I had written solid foundation. When the inspector came out from underneath the house, his literal words were, "Wow, that's the nicest foundation I've ever seen." I mean, every single exact detail that I had drawn or written was exactly the house I had in contract. Like, I conjured that house. In fact, I think I drew that up and wrote it up before the house was even renovated. So I think I ordered that house from the universe. And whoever owned it then just got inspired to make it exactly what I said. But that is not this house. That is not the house that I am currently living in, because even after I saw that paper, when the notary called and said, "Come sign the papers," I had the strongest, clearest no in my gut. It was a no. And I thought, well, this is a really good deal. And not only that, but I drew it. It's my vision board come to life. I've ordered this house. Like, obviously, it's my house. But I had such a clear no. And I didn't know why. I couldn't figure out why. And I think I just went with my gut. And I just told them no. I told my poor realtor who'd been taking me around to see houses for over a year. I told her, sorry, no, it's not the right house for me. So we started the hunt again. And I still didn't know why it was a no. I just knew it was a no. And then we searched for another year, and it was a lot of work. We were going out. I was searching online every single day. My realtor was too. And we were going to see at least 1, 2, 3 houses every single week. And this was like another year, right? Finally, I'm very spirit-led, so I take messages, right? If something's not going my way, I think, well, maybe I'm off. Maybe there's something off, right? And I need to change something in how I'm approaching it. So that's what I thought. And I thought, well, maybe I'm not meant to be in the Bay Area. Maybe I'm meant to go back to Hawaii. And so then I started connecting with banks in Hawaii, because you have to get, you connect with different banks depending on your state to get a mortgage loan. So you have to be approved in that state for a bank in that actual state, right? So I contacted some banks there and I got pre-approved at a bank in Hawaii. And then I contacted some friends and found some realtors. So I had a realtor on Big Island and I had a realtor on Maui. And so I scheduled a 1 month vacation, first 2 weeks Big Island, first 2 weeks Maui. And I was going to be going around with realtors all the month looking for my house on Maui now, right? After over 2 years looking for a house in the Bay Area. So on Big Island, so it's a month, on about day 5 of this month, a realtor showed me this house on Big Island. Is in what's called the banana belt, which is the best weather on the entire island. If you're over here, it's too much rain. If you're over here, it's too dry. If you're down here, you get too much of the fog from the volcano. It was exactly here, so it was like really perfect weather. And it was on like this point of the island where you had like panoramic views. Like you could actually see the island curve from the house, right? I mean, talk about sweeping ocean views. And it was on the grid for electric and for power, but it also had a windmill for electric, solar. It got county water, but also the guy who had built the house, he built water systems for a living. So he had given himself his own private water system that took rainwater and converted it into the cleanest water you would ever drink. It had like a beautiful glass living room, but then it had another yurt. So if you want it more cozy, instead of so open, you could go in the yurt, which was huge, had high ceilings. And I mean, it was just like decked out. It had a greenhouse. Then it was 14 acres, had a separate garage. Like it had just all this stuff going off the hook, right? And so I told the guy like kind of my vision of what I maybe wanted to do with it, which was to bring like urban teenagers from a place like Oakland or something, bring them there for like these 1 or 2 week experiences where they would learn to farm in the greenhouse and they get to live out by nature and they'd spend time out at the ocean. They would just have this letting nature heal them experience instead of just this urban experience. So that was my vision, right? So, oh, you love yurts? Yeah, they're cool, right? They're huge and snuggly at the same time. So it was a great place. So I told this guy this vision, and he said, yeah, I've wanted to do something like that too, but my wife and I, we own so many properties on all the different islands, because he flew over from Oahu to show me the house. And he's like, we haven't had time to do that, but that's something that I've wanted to do too. And so when it came time to talk about numbers, I asked him how much the house cost. And he said, well, how much would you like to pay for it? This is how rich people live, by the way. Like, oh, I got some spare houses. Just tell me how much you want to pay for it. I got an extra house on my hands, or two, right? So that's what he says. He says, how much would you like to pay for it? Look at me dead in the eye, like so serious, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I've been approved. Oh, you were on my own, okay. So I'm thinking I've been approved for this amount, right? But since he's asking, I'm not going to tell him what I was approved for. So I think I offered him like 2/3 of what I'd been approved for. And he was like, okay. And my realtor was like, because that house should have cost more than what I was even approved for. 14 acres on Maui that's both completely sustainable off the grid, but also on the grid and nice and in the best weather on the whole island. Are you joking? But anyhow. So my realtor was blown away. My realtor was just like, what? And so I was like, okay, well, I need to think about it. I need to sleep on it. But, it's been great seeing it. Thank you for coming out. And he's like, sure, just let me know. Just give me a call and we'll take it from there. So on the drive back, so my realtor, of course, is driving me back to the cottage that I'm renting while I'm there. And she just can't stop gushing about it. And the whole time, here's that gut again inside me going, no, 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 no. And so I'm just quiet. Like, I don't want to, she's so happy. I don't want to say anything to kind of, ruin her good vibe. But inside, I'm just not feeling it, right? And so we get back to my place and she leaves me there. And then that night I'm just reflecting and I'm thinking, why do I not want this place? Like, why am I not over the moon like her about having this place? And I just kept sorting through it. And again, I thought, if I don't want that house, that deal, if I don't want that, then I don't want to be in Hawaii, because it is not going to get better than that. And so I thought, maybe I am supposed to be in California. So I went on Craigslist and I just started looking for houses in California. Now, again, I had been looking here for like 2.5 freaking years and hadn't found anything. Now I'm in Hawaii, finally looking there, but let me just check Craigslist one more time. And guess what? I found this very house that I'm sitting in right now. It was perfect. It was absolutely, it was like beyond, like what I had drawn on that vision board. It was like, that was the child me idea of a house, and good enough, you know, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath in a sweet little working class neighborhood with lots of sun in good condition. That was like the dream, right? And this house is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath with an extra apartment that I can rent out on a 1/4 acre overlooking nothing but nature with a 25-minute drive into San Francisco. Like, it is like another level. But I couldn't, at the time that I drew that picture, I couldn't envision that. So I didn't draw it. I couldn't ask for that. I couldn't put that in my order from the universe because it was bigger than how I saw myself. So I asked for where I was coming from then, but then I grew and Spirit decided to send to me what I could become. I'm gonna circle back to this again and underline this point, but I'll give you the rest of that, how that played out first. So I find the house on Craigslist, and I'm looking at the pictures and the description. I'm like, oh my God, that's what I want. And so I called my realtor from Hawaii and I said, okay, I'm gonna email you this listing. That's what I want. Get me that house. I still have to be here in Hawaii another month because I'm on day 5 of my 1-month totally planned out thing, right? Airplane is coming back a month from now. Can't do anything about it, right? And I'm like, but that's my house. And she says, you know, by the time you get back, that house is not going to still be on the market. And I'm like, I don't care. That's my house. And she's like, okay, I'll try. And so, you know, I go on with my trip. I did tell the realtor there, you know, I'm sorry, I just can't say yes to this house. And the rest of all the time I was in Hawaii or on either island, all the rest of the time I was there, I kept looking at houses and I never found anything that was remotely as good as everything cost more and it was less good, right? By a lot than what I had seen in that first few days. And I finally came back at the end of the trip, no house, went back to my realtor. We started once again. She was right. That house that I had seen on Craigslist was no longer available. It had gone off the market. So we started looking at houses again, back into our routine. And then about 3 weeks in, this house came back on the market. The people had gotten into contract, and then they, just like I had backed out of the previous one, they backed out at the last minute. And I snapped this baby up. And turns out that this house, this street that it's on, years before that, before I was even looking for a house, I remember a friend of mine was house sitting somewhere and she'd wanted to have a little party because she was in house sitting in a really nice place. She invited me over and I got lost on the way there. And this is a dead end street, and I got lost on this street. And when I was lost on this street, I remember thinking to myself then, wow, the people who live here are so lucky. I wish I could live here. Saying it in my mind, but of course I can't, because this was before, the story I told you about how my revenue went from answering a job ad at $19 an hour to being a millionaire within a few years. Okay, so this was before the turning point. So this was when I was still making like $30 an hour, which may sound like a lot for where you live, but I can assure you in the San Francisco Bay Area it is not. Studios are costing like $2,500 and up around here, studios. So it was not within my means to even imagine myself able to live in a place like this. So when I thought, oh, I wish I could live on the street, I didn't realize that was when I really put in the order to Spirit, not when I drew the vision board, when I simply gave a wish and then let Spirit shape that, how it was going to shape it. So yes, I wound up getting the house and I absolutely love it here. Not a day goes by that I don't appreciate just every direction I look as I move. I love it. I love my neighbors. I love my neighborhood. I mean, I'm friends with all my neighbors, incredibly diverse. The person next to me is Mexican, family over here is white, across the street is Jewish, Next house over is Japanese. And it's just like on and on, the whole neighborhood. Friends of mine up the street, they're Middle Eastern, other ones. It's just like on and on and on. We're from all over the world, different age groups, and we have a community clubhouse. We have a potluck meal once a month, but we also like, this is a place where you're walking down the street. If a car is going by, it's got to at least slow down so that you can wave at each other. Often it will stop so that you can chat a little bit before it moves on. And if somebody's behind, they'll just like wait. They don't honk their horn. It's a lot like when I lived on Maui. Up country was like that too. People would just wait because they could see people are having a conversation and no one's in such a hurry that they feel like they need to interfere with neighbors being neighbors. It's real community. Even though I'm like in this, like I'm in a major city, I'm just like I'm not actually in the city. I'm like quote unquote unincorporated, but I'm like right at a major city. I mean, like it's 10 minutes to be in the heart of everything in the East Bay, and then another 15 when it's not rush hour to be in San Francisco. So it's like, it really is a dream beyond a dream, and it costs, what I pay is less than what studios are going for right now, even though it's huge. And I can rent out the downstairs for as much as just my mortgage, like not my overall payment, but just the mortgage part of it. My downstairs 1 bedroom covers that, all but $200 of it. So it's like, as much as each of those things that I said no to, someone could say, but I can't pass that by. One, because it's such a good deal, it's so affordable, and I drew it, for God's sake. It's my vision board. I can't say no. I could have said that and be living a much smaller life, living only the life that I could imagine for myself from my limited way of thinking. I hope you guys are seeing that, right? And then the next one, I could have said yes. Oh my God, it's such a great deal. Even the realtor's out of her mind. The house wasn't even on the market. The guy he didn't even have time to try to sell all the houses he didn't need, that he owned. Like, he was just so rich and so busy that he just wanted the house off his hands, and someone who could create the vision he had of helping urban youth, he could feel like he was a part of that. And all he had to do was take my money and not try to wait or make effort to get, 2 or 3 times as much for that house, which he could have. But despite how unique and special that opportunity was, and how someone could say, but an opportunity like that does not come along twice in a lifetime. You have to take it. A lot of people would think like that, but thank goodness I didn't, because the way that things played out after that, had I done it, I would have been absolutely miserable there. I would have had a lot of problems if I had done that. And then who knew? Who knew that this house was going to come back on the market just in time for me to snap it up after coming back from Hawaii, right? On the street that I got lost on and said that I wish I could live there years before. So, moral of the story. Let me see what you guys have written. Beautiful. Wait, where are you? I'm in Northern California. I'm outside San Francisco. East Bay. So it's like, I wanted to share this with you because in your life, there are going to be amazing opportunities that come your way. They may even be something you drew on a vision board, right? But, I mean, would it have been the end of the world if I had gone ahead and bought that first house and moved into it? No, but I wouldn't have gotten to become who I became. And I like this person better. I wouldn't have had these neighbors. I wouldn't have had these influences. I wouldn't have had this way. Just like my energy is so expanded because no one's ever in my energy field. Like I have no coverings on my windows because there's nobody there. There's nothing but trees and sky. Right? That side of the house has some curtains, but this side, all around this way, there's nobody. There is no one in my energy field. My neighbors are on big plots of land. This guy's on half an acre and his house is like way down there. Like and here there are no houses. There's nothing. There's just forest. So like there's a canyon and then there's forest. So at a spiritual level, how I'm able to unfold and relax my energy field and be receptive because there isn't any of that human angst kind of mixing in with my spiritual connection. I could not have had that in that 2-1 with houses so close to each other. Nice people, but people who were struggling, and they would have been in my energy field. Do you see that? You guys are getting this, right? So I'm not saying that when you get a great opportunity, don't take it, because maybe you should, but I am saying don't ever let your mind override your gut. The mind here in the heart and in the gut is so much more wise than the mind inside the brain. And we're so trained to think of that opposite. Like our entire acculturation, our entire educational system, it's all about trying to get us out of that natural inner compass we had as children and that natural way of thinking as children and into thinking with the mind. That's that entire educational system is about that. It's all about, stay in your seat, don't move when it's natural for your body to know it needs to move. Don't express yourself, don't laugh, don't be loud when it's natural to express your energy and let your energy flow. And just think. Think. Memorize what I told you, repeat it back to me, and then I'm going to test you on it to make sure that you remember exactly what I told you. That's not all of educational system. Thank goodness in some places there's a little more creative reasoning and play going on. But that's a lot of it, and it's been moving more in that direction over the years since you and I were kids. So it's a lot of work to learn how to reconnect with this system and to honor it, to actually put it on a higher pedestal in your priorities than what you come up with in your mind. If I had used my mind, there were all kinds of reasons, some of them very spiritually based and service based and love based. Right? In this one, I drew it on a vision board. The universe gave it to me. I could have a spiritually based idea about why I must take it, despite the fact that there's a no in my gut. The other one, it's such a great deal. My calculations, how much money I can make, even if I just flip this place, or if I live the vision, it's service. I'm bringing these urban youth and giving them this experience. Surely this is supported by the universe. That's why it's being offered to me. Surely I'm supposed to do it. Thinking. Nice thoughts, pretty thoughts. Very spiritual and aren't I wonderful thoughts, but still thoughts. And those are only good thoughts when they come in harmony with your gut and your heart also saying yes. If you get a no here, I don't care how many different reasons you've got a yes there, take a pause. Be willing to let it go and trust. The key to all of this is that each time I felt that, I also felt that trust that as good as this was, something better was coming. And I can't give this to you as a formula beyond saying, listen to these parts of yourself, because in another situation, like when this house came along, I needed to know that it was a yes and that I needed to follow through with it, right? Like there were obstacles still in the process. There was lots of negotiations that went on. It took it was over a month of negotiating to get me into this house. The fact that I could play hardball like I did was only possible because the previous people had backed out. So it had come back on the market, which put the seller into a position of a little bit of duress. And so that allowed me to get a house that was at the edge of what I could afford for what I could afford. There were a number of different things that were challenges along the way. It wasn't just an easy path, but because I had that yes in my gut, then I knew, okay, find a way in your mind. This is the key thing. Make sure that your mind and what you can do with your intellect, that it serves what you're being told to do in your gut and in your heart. And if you do that, you will be led not just to getting what you've asked for, but to getting what spirit wants for you. Get to live its vision of who you might be. Okay? All right, I don't see any questions. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. And more importantly, I hope that it really inspires you to trust yourself and to strengthen your relationship with your inner guidance system so that you can make decisions in a really clear way and not be controlled by ideas around you. Yeah. Okay. All right, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to take off. And like I said, I'll do another Miraculous Story next week for sure. And I think one more after that. And then we get into the holiday thing. And it's like Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, all those holidays all the way through the end of the year through New Year's. So I'll take a break after that. And then we'll come back and pick up again in January. Oh, you're very welcome. Good. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Rachel. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah. Enjoy and just realize there aren't really any wrong choices. So don't get yourself caught up in second guessing yourself. trust your gut and trust that it is going to be revealed, and that there will come a time when you'll get a yes in your gut. Now, in my case, it was like the first one was like a year, right? It was a whole year after that first chance I had to say yes when I instead said no. It was a year, but I had to keep the faith. And when the time came to make yes, even though there were all these obstacles and my realtor was saying, you're never going to get that house, I was like, I don't care. That's my house. It was a knowing. And so don't let your mind talk you out of what you know to be a yes, and don't let your mind talk you in to what you know to be a no. Trust your gut. Hone that relationship with your inner guidance system so that it's strong and clear, and you can absolutely know when it's a no and absolutely know when it's a yes. And you will be guided to more than you can dream of, more than you know to ask for. I'm currently looking for my home and having this exact issue. Wow, I love it when these synchronicities happen like this. When I choose to talk about something, it happened last week too. There was someone, I can't remember what the story was last week, but it was the exact thing that she was deciding. That's so cool. Thanks for sharing that, Rochelle. I'm looking forward to the next time. Oh, good. I'm glad. Also, I'm contemplating a career or job change. So much to think about. Thank you. Oh, well, you know what? Okay, so I'm a business consultant by trade. So I obviously, I love it when someone says what you just said, because what that's telling me is that you're ready to expand. But the home, the work, the expression in the world, whether it's a business or a job, all of that, you're ready to be open to something more. And that is a phenomenal place to be. So my advice on that, just in general, is just freaking enjoy it. Like there's no way I can stress enough how much to not stress about that, because it is such a blessing to even be in that place of openness and exploration, and just realize that it's meant to be a joyful thing, and keep it that way. Keep it playful, keep it light. Don't think it's, oh, this is such a serious thing. This is just you being open to different ways that spirit can bless you. That should be fun. That should seriously not be stressful, okay? So enjoy it. And thanks for sharing that, Rochelle. All right. Oh, good, Crystal. I'm glad. All right, you all have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you again next Thursday at 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. Okay, bye-bye.